Welcome to Twisted Liquid RC Boats. Good day, everybody. Welcome back to Twisted Liquid RC Boats and the continuation in our Zippkits SLR missile Thunderboat build. In the last episode, guys, we installed our outer chines. We installed them between our front three bulkheads and our floor. Let it cure. Both sides are good and solid. It's added shape to the front of our boat. Everything is blended in nice. I'm really happy with the outcome of it after I let it cure. Today, we're going to move on to our next step in the manual, and we are going to install two pieces together at the same time. We are going to install our Sponson chines, and we are going to install our spray rails. And it is recommended in the manual that you install these two parts together. This will give us more shape to our sponsons and will be the first time that we're really epoxying and clamping wood into the boat and giving it a little flex or bend while we're doing so in order to get the shape of our boat that we need. You will notice that both parts are marked with the letter R, distinguishing the right hand side, which is this side of the boat as we're building upside down on the jig. I've took the time, guys, to sand all the laser burn off all the parts where we're going to add epoxy. I've took the same time to take all the laser burn off all of the slot areas where it's going to fit into the three bulkheads. That will promote adhesion between our parts and our boat frame and make it really strong. We're going to use some Bob Smith Industries 30-minute epoxy. I got some clamps ready. I got some binder clamps ready. So we're ready to mix up a good batch of epoxy, install the two pieces at one time on one side, get one side of the boat done, clamped, perfect where we want it. Then I'll take the time, I'll spin the boat around, prep the other parts, and we'll do the other side too in this episode. So guys, today we got to get busy, get our Sponson chines and our spray rails in, and we will be moving on with the building of our sponsons on the frame of our boat. Okay guys, got a good batch of epoxy mixed up in my cup. Once again, same epoxy we've been using throughout the whole build. You guys are probably sick of hearing me say it, but we're using Bob Smith Industries 30-minute slow cure. Gotta say, I do like the product. Works very well. Everything I've adhered to the boat so far, and I've left it and gave it time to cure, it has adhered perfectly for me. And I can't complain. Even the floor, all of the floor that we done, when we weighed it down with all the weights, it cured and worked perfect. So I have to say, guys, it's a good epoxy. It works well. I'm probably going to try other products in the future, but for this build, I'm quite happy with the results with using Bob Smith Industries 30-minute slow cure epoxy. I have no complaints with it at all. I try and mix it good every time. I try and use a square type stick so I get all the epoxy off the side and mix it well together. Once I see it kind of change to a cloudy color, I know I've got a good mix on it, and then I proceed to do my work. So we're going to take our time, guys. We're going to spread a good coat of epoxy in our slots and on our areas around our bulkheads where our Sponson chine is going to sit and where our spray rail is going to sit. And once we get a good coat of epoxy on it, we'll get our part done the same way, and we'll get ready to do some very creative clamping and get our piece put in. And I've already done a quick dry fit. I've took the time to make sure it's gonna fit half sensibly, and it will. And I should have more than enough clamps sitting on the bench, on the table here, ready to go to get it exactly where I want it. So like I say, just take your time. Make sure you got your parts ready. You can do inside around the edge of your floor here, because your spray rail will adhere under your inner chine right here and to your floor also. So it's worth the while to get a little epoxy in this area for when you take and clamp. I'm pretty sure I have enough mixed up to do the pieces. I quickly have to put some right here on this surface area. I'm going to try and get a good coating down this piece for when the spray rail comes into it. Around its slots before I put it in, it'll make it a little easier. Once again, guys, you don't need a ton, but you do need to get a good coating on it. You want the part to adhere. You don't want to have no problems with it once you clamp it and get it in place. Like I say, this is the first real situation where we're bending some wood now as we're clamping and epoxying, and it's giving us the shape of our boat, of our sponson, so we've got to get it right. And the way they're telling us to do it in the manual is the way we're doing it, so we are trying to follow the manual steps for you guys very closely. So having that area ready and done, I have one little area right here I have to get. I got to work a little quick now, guys, because I got to get this in place. Clamp it a little bit. It's recommended that you sand a slight little bevel in the tip to go against bulkhead number 1 right here. So right now I'm going to conquer getting this one in place first, clamped and lightly held. We will get our curve right there for our sponson. It's sitting in our slot. I'm going to proceed to clamp it right here, not too tightly, but just enough to hold it down in place for me on bulkhead number 3. Do the same right here at bulkhead number 2. Get it in place for me. Alright, it's sitting in good position there. Let's proceed to get a coating of epoxy on our spray rail. Once again, you got to work a little quick, guys, but you got a little bit of a time with your epoxy. Try and time your work out. Try and be smart about what you're doing, because we have to add some binder clips pretty quick now once we get this guy in place. And then if we do have any remaining epoxy, we can go in and we can take care of some fillets around some areas without being too wasteful. Not trying to build a boat that's all epoxy or anything, but you do want to stick your pieces together. And you can tell as you're spreading it over your cleaned edges from your laser burn, you can see the epoxy soaking into the part as you do it. So guys, to install this fella, he goes into 2 slots in the sponson chine, sits on the 3 bulkheads, and he levels up against the front floor and bulkhead number 1 right here. So now our plan is to start getting him clamped solidly along this edge so that everything stays in place for us. And this is where we have to do our creative gentle clamping. Take our time, get our fitment perfect, Get everything just the way we want it. Now to keep it right where I want it in the nose, I'm going to add a binder clamp there quickly just so it don't go moving on me too much. I got to start coming this way now to get the curve in it the way I want it. You're only clamping just the edge, guys, and you're trying to keep these pieces in their slots and completely flush. So make sure you do a good job on this. You want this to have no gaps, be completely glued to all the bulkheads, all the areas, and take your time and do a decent job with it. It's going to give you better results in the future. Guys, this is going together nice. I'm happy. Everything is lining up the way I want it. So far, so good. Not complaining at all. Everything is sitting exactly like I'd like it. Let's move these down just a little bit so we can get another one in there. Okay, guys, we got a really good clamping on that now. It's tight against the floor. The lip of it is underneath the edge of the inner chine, which is exactly where we want it. It's sitting on bulkhead number 1 like we want it. It's sitting on bulkhead number 2 like we want it. May just loosen this one off and move it up a little bit. Reclamp right here. And I think I'm going to try and add this guy in right there, just to pull it down on bulkhead number 3. Now guys, we got that sitting in place beautifully. I can see it's up against all the slots. It's sitting right in the areas I want it. I can come in and take a little remaining epoxy I have left in my cup and brush in a little tiny gap right here, just the tiniest, I think 1/16 of an inch maybe, between bulkhead number 1. Just to solid that up a little bit. Good there for now. I'd like to check to make sure I'm good with my floor. And I am. It's exactly the way I want it. Take a little bit, put it around this pointy tip of our inner chine. Can't believe we got it installed in the boat and it's not damaged. These are the very pointy tip parts I was telling you about that you have to be oh so careful with when you're building this boat. And right now, the only place I could touch it up any little bit is around the bottom edge right here, inside on the inside edge. I could add a little fillet right here, just to make sure the two pieces lock together when it's cured. Try not to get it on your clamps, guys. You don't want to glue your clamp to your boat. You're trying to glue your wood together and get it to keep a perfect shape and a perfect position for you. And once you get that, give it time to cure. That's about this pace you need to work at. My epoxy still is not hardened up yet in my cup. I had more than enough to do the job all around the areas. I took my time and got it done. Even on the inside fillets, I had enough time to get it completely on the part and done. Plan your steps out as you're building. We're counting down here now to the end of pieces we have to install to finish the bottom of our boat, and we're going to do 2 more of these today. Stop poking my head on the clamps. And once we do 2 more of these today, we're going to do our non-trips on the rear. And we're getting down there on pieces then to finish the build of our boat. So, slowly but surely, we are getting where we want to get to. Guys, I'm happy with that. That's fit very nice into the boat. I can see that it's definitely got a coating of epoxy between the 2 pieces. I have 2 clamps here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 binder clamps. I have everything clamped good, so I'm very happy with that. We're going to let it cure for a bit. We're going to turn the camera off once everything is good and we can release it. We're going to spin the jig around on the table so you guys got a better view. And we're going to do the other side the same way we just done this one. Okay guys, we're mixing up a second batch of epoxy in order to put in our second Sponson chine and our second spray rail. I let it cure for a couple hours, guys, because I like to do that. I removed the clamps I need to work, the binder clamps and my main clamps, and I put some spare ones back on over our first side, the right side that we done, just to keep it good and secure. Let it cure a little longer. This epoxy works great, like I say, when you give it full cure time. And I don't mind reclamping it with some spare clamps, because I'll take them all off tomorrow sometime and I'll know that my work is good. So we're quickly going to get motivated here again and start applying some epoxy in the slots in our bulkheads, in the surface area where we're going to adhere to. And we're going to get a good coat on the epoxy on the wood. You'll know, you'll see, like I've said guys, you'll see the epoxy soaking into the wood and change the color of it ever so slightly. So you'll know when you got a good coat on there. But we do want good adhesion with our parts. But like I say all along too, we don't want to make a big mess as we're building our boat. It'd be nice to keep our appearance of our boat relatively clean. Okay. Let's get some epoxy on our Sponson joint. Nice coating, guys. Just make sure the part's going to adhere for you. I know I can smear a bead right here to go against bulkhead number 3. And our slot's good, so our spray rail can adhere well to this chine. Like I say, guys, you can see the wood color out as the epoxy soaks in. You know you're getting a good coating on there. Pretty quick, just by look. Now, I forgot to do one thing quickly. I normally don't like doing something like this, but I forgot to sand a quick bevel right here, guys. So I'm just going to quickly grab the part, take a little piece of sandpaper, sand a little bevel here so it'll butt up against bulkhead number 1 nicely. That's all we need. I'll just lightly smear it again in case my fingers took the epoxy off. I forgot to do that. I should have had it ready, but that's no big deal. Now that we have a coat of epoxy in the slots and on our part, we're going to get it lined up. Initially clamped so that we can get our spray rail adhered and done also at the same time. Same as before, guys. Make sure it's all the way down into the bulkheads. I'm clamping it right here. Really tight at bulkhead number 3. I'm going to clamp it right here, making sure it's down in the slot. Bulkhead number 2. Just snug right there is good, guys. Just snug. A little up out of our slot right there. We'll drive our piece down here in the nose and bulkhead number 1, so make sure we're good. Then clamp again. Okay. Now we have to do a quick coat of epoxy on our spray rail, the same as we've done before. Nothing is adhered on us yet, which is great. It's still workable. Like I say, guys, you gotta work a little quick, you gotta mix up enough, you gotta coat your parts, do it in good time, make sure you get everything done, don't waste no time, get your work taken care of. Because once you add your hardener, it's time for you to go to work and build your boat. It's not hard to get a good coat on this quickly. Just do it in steps. Do one piece at a time. It's not going to hurt you to just take your time and put it all in place. It's the second clamping that we're going to do now in a moment that mainly holds everything together. I just want to get it clamped good at the bulkheads so the first Sponson chine doesn't move on me. Okay guys, that's a nice coating on our spray rail. Before I forget, I'm going to brush a little bit up around our floor right here by our inner chine, because we are going to be meeting bulkhead 1 and our floor and inner chine right here on this edge. So a little epoxy brushed right there. It's not going to hurt the adhesion of your spray rail at all. And once we've done that, we are ready to slide this guy in place. Making sure to get it perfect in the slots and perfect around our bulkheads and our floor. Take your time, slide it together, get it so it wants to fit in there nice for you. Once it does, and you know you've got a coating of epoxy good on it, you can feel it. Start to clamp it together so that the edge holds very well, if that's what you want. We're bringing 2 of these pieces together at the same time, so we have contact points that we have to get to. Keep working your way forward. You can see the part slowly taking the shape and going exactly the way you want it. Like I've said, don't be in a rush. You gotta work all this together now and get it to hold and clamp it good. And creative clamping is going to be your biggest key to getting your Sponson chines and your spray rails done well. Just take your time, work at a good pace. Make sure you get everything done. Make sure it's exactly like you want it. And once you know everything is good, clamp it where you want it to hold it well, to give it time to cure. We're sticking a lot of parts together here now, in a lot of places. Our gap up around our floor by our inner chine and the pointy part right here is perfect. Our clip is holding it great right there. Let's get along our bottom edge like we done with our first side with some inside fillets. Just add some additional strength to the 2 parts adhering together. Once you got it clamped, It's still very easy to get your brush in here and brush in a fillet of epoxy. Just like I said, doing the first side. Try to be careful not to get it on your clamps so you don't stick them to your boat. And you can do some nice fillets on the inside here. Add some strength. Make sure the two parts adhere together well when it cures. And this will be another part of our boat build that we have conquered and done, guys. And that's great because we just got 4 pieces installed. We only have 8 more to install on the bottom of this boat. And once we do, we are going to be proceeding to cut the boat off the jig. I'm just going to check this one for all the way down in the slot right now. And it is. It's exactly like I wanted. Get a nice clamp on it right there now. We can take a little bit of epoxy remaining in our cup. Make sure our spray rail is tight to our bulkhead. We can just run a little fillet, not too much to make a mess. Just to promote adhesion between these parts. Fill any initial small minor gaps that may be there. That's all we're trying to conquer here until everything cures. The epoxy is starting to set up, which is great. Can't believe we got the pointy parts of the inner chines installed in the boat without beating them up. So right now, guys, that's a really good fitment on our Sponson chines and our spray rails. I left the additional large clamps that I had attached on this side just to keep everything in perfect shape. I moved the main clamps that we used doing the first one over to this side so you guys can see 2 sides done in one episode. And we've got this in a really good position. I want to leave it alone. I want to let it cure. And I'm probably not going to touch the boat no more for today till tomorrow. And when we come back in again, guys, we got to install our rear non-trips. So we got a tiny little bit of sanding work to do on the trips themselves. And along the edges, we may have to bevel it a little bit to get a perfect fit right here around bulkhead 4. But that's no big deal. So we got a little bit of sanding work to do around here. And then we can start to do our rear non-trips, which will be in our next episode. Once again, guys, I've said it many times before, and I can't say it enough. Thanks for watching Twisted Liquid RC Boats build of the Zippkits SLR missile. I really appreciate the channel's support. I really appreciate how everybody is so interested in the build. I think it's completely great that you guys are watching, paying attention, enjoying what we're doing. And I've told you before, we're going to keep steady building this boat at a steady pace. Make sure we do everything correctly, or to the best of our abilities anyways. And when it's all done, we're going to have ourselves a decent hydroplane, guys. So, thanks again for watching Twisted Liquid RC Boats and our continuation in the Zippkits SLR missile. Come on back for the next episode, guys. Can't wait to catch you in the next one. Everybody take care and have a really, really, really good day. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Take care and stay safe.